Welcome back to another episode. Today, we're going to take a closer look at AMD Advanced Micro Devices. The stock was down nearly 7% today. In the past 5 days, the stock is down nearly 10%. And from its year to date high, the stock is down nearly 20%. Now, on today's episode, what I want to do is take a closer look at what are some recent analyst thoughts on this stock, what's creating kind of this bearish momentum, and more importantly, am I still excited about this company as this is one that I have been bullish in? So let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so first, let's kind of just start off with what's happening with the stock market. I mean, today AMD was down roughly 6.5%. I do believe a lot of the fears are coming from earnings that just recently came out, right? Broadcom, which I covered in depth yesterday, reported earnings, and we can see the stock was actually up roughly 9%. Now, this AI market is one that's continuing to evolve, and some might be wondering, Jose, why does Broadcom have anything to do with AMD when AMD's biggest competitor is actually NVIDIA? Now, right now, I would say in theory, NVIDIA and AMD are the competitors in true products, right? They're both creating GPUs. Now, in forms of where wallet spending is going to go for the future, I think the better comparison is Broadcom versus AMD, right? Because we already know that NVIDIA is going to continue to dominate, at least in the next few years, the GPU space, the AI accelerator space. They're the ones that most of the wallet is going to be going to. Now, there's always a need to have a second player, right? No company wants to be dependent on just one player, and they need to have another player just to another solution, another company that can provide them with more AI chips so they can kind of use them as either reduce that dependency of NVIDIA, use that as maybe a bargaining chip, as a trading tool, but there has to be a number two player for that wallet spending. Now, that number two player seems to be between AMD and Broadcom. And yesterday, Broadcom's earnings kind of showcased that maybe they have a little bit more edge on AMD. And more importantly, right, we recently have seen news with Broadcom, right, that Broadcom reportedly signed this fourth new customer for AI chips. That has been confirmed. What obviously hasn't been confirmed is the name of that customer, except many people are expecting this fourth customer to be OpenAI. Now, the reason that's a big deal for AMD is we know that AMD is, and it recently announced that Sam Altman came to the AI event and showcased that they were planning on using AMD's products. But now, if you kind of have Broadcom in this list, does this mean that there's less revenue potential for AMD? Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what my thoughts are, but that's what the market is acting right now, right? That's how the market is seeing this Broadcom threat thesis. And it's creating kind of this negative stock price on the overall stock. And we are seeing a lot of analysts discuss it. Now that I've shared my thoughts, at least on the bearish side, at the end of this episode, I want to talk a little bit more about my bullish sentiment. I want to kind of jump into some of what the things analysts are saying. So pretty much very similar to what I was discussing, there were a few analysts saying that Broadcom's growing momentum with customers have some on Wall Street thinking that hyperscalers looking for alternatives to NVIDIA might turn to internal offerings and partnerships with the likes of Broadcom rather than opting for AMD. Pretty much what I was explaining earlier on in this episode. The other thing that they mention is OpenAI will likely come at the expense of either AMD and NVIDIA, Melius research analyst led by Ben said in a Friday's note. And again, kind of what I was discussing is, especially since OpenAI was kind of announced in this AMD AI event, it's seen more of a bearish thesis for AMD than NVIDIA right now. Now, I agree with the next sentiment. So, with current AI spending plans looking so big by so many companies, that Melia's team said fretting about the impact now seems premature. And I do believe that is the case, right? We've seen from all these massive AI companies, they are increasing capital expenditure. This market is one that continues to evolve almost on a daily basis, on a weekly basis for sure, and definitely on a monthly basis. And as a long-term investor, that's usually unheard of. But if you want to be on top of the AI space, you really need to be innovating and kind of do that research of how things are changing. I think right now, sometimes while we are getting new information, it doesn't mean we have to react to new information. And I think that's where we're at. We're getting more information of more potential use cases of ASIC solutions. But does that mean that necessarily we're going to lose a lot of market in the traditional GPU? And who's going to be the one at the expense? Is it going to be NVIDIA? Is it going to be AMD? Are they not going to lose market share, but are they just going to lose new wallet spending? There's so many questions left unanswered that I think the market right now is doing more of ask questions later and do something now. And I usually think that is the wrong result. So I do believe this is very, very premature. Now, one thing that we're also seeing is earlier this week, this one is an interesting note of what could be impacting AMD as well, is Goldberg's team said conversations with supply chain players made them worry that AMD will have difficult time meeting expectations with its AI chip roadmap. Progress in AMD's AI accelerator business looks to be slowing down, they noted, and there are signs that AMD is struggling to grow orders from the many customers it announced at its AI event this summer. They pointed at concerns that some AMD's headline customers have only purchased evaluation systems that are unlikely to convert into volume orders for at least one generation of the MI system. But while he expects AMD's MI355 GPUs, which are currently rolling out, to underwhelm customers, they are still very bullish about the MI400. Now, if you have been following this channel for sure, we have said that the MI400 is the real bullish case for AMD. The MI355 doesn't really change much in the forms of technology leadership that AMD is providing to their customers. Now, unfortunately, sometimes the stock gets a little bit too excited, and maybe that's what's happening here. In the long term, I still believe this is a multi-bagger, especially if there is no hiccup with the MI400. If the MI400 is everything AMD says it to be, then I do believe multi-bagger opportunities is in the roadmap for AMD in the long term. Now, like I talk about in every episode, I believe while there is multi-bagger opportunity, it's not always in a straight line. There could be months, quarters where you kind of see negative pressure, negative downturn. In the long-term financials, fundamentals win, and I think that's going to be the case for AMD. So maybe a week from now, a month from now, 2 months from now, a quarter from now, some bear might be like, "See, Jose, I told you this was the case," and that's okay, right? You can make your money shorting. For me, in the long term of things, I'd rather just put my money, sit it, and wait for my thesis to play out. And I think for AMD, it's definitely gonna do it. Now, AMD recently had an AI event, and I know I talked a little bit about the bearish case. I also mentioned that I'm still very bullish on the stock. AMD did share something recently at their event that they had at a recent banking conference. So AMD actually talked about the ASIC market. So they think their view has been that 20 to 25% of this TAM will probably be served by ASIC infrastructure. And the programmable GPU led infrastructure will, in our view, serve the remainder. So AMD, they do believe that ASIC will have a decent market share, but programmable GPUs will be the better player and kind of create that lion's share. Now, they also talk about how Sam was kind enough to come on stage with Lisa and talk about the work that they're doing in collaborating with the Helios Rack and the MI400. The reason I wanted to talk about this is, again, kind of Broadcom winning more money from OpenAI. Does that mean that AMD is going to get less money from OpenAI? And that could be seen as one of the bearish case. The partnership also continues to showcase or AMD's market continues to see more growth and expansion like NeoCloud, like major customer existings, and new enterprise players. Now, they also talk a little bit more about their total addressable market in the AI space. In the most recent event, Lisa Su didn't no longer say 500 billion by 2028. She said a little bit more or over 500 billion by 2028. So the market is still growing at some explosive levels for the overall AI space. And I do believe AMD can definitely win in that market. Not win the whole market share, but win a bit that they are going to do great for investors. They also talk about the new kind of what's going on with China, the MI308, and AMD mentioned the following. First, they're focusing only on selling existing inventory of products that they have for the MI308. They are actually pausing any new productions for this right now, and they're actively seeking to supply next generation technology to the China market if permitted. So, if you are an NVIDIA investor, this might give you a little bit of indication of what maybe NVIDIA is also doing. It seems NVIDIA doesn't really want to produce more H20s either. That's what AMD is doing. They're not producing more AI chips to China with this previous generation. They're just trying to let go of that inventory if needed. Now, what's really excited is if they do get the next generation, that is where they can probably grow in that Chinese space. The final question is this an AI bubble? And management from AMD mentions that they think we're still in very early stages for AI adoption. Hyperscalers continue to boost and increase their capital expenditure. All those companies that are these cloud service providers have shown a proven return on investments. They already have that evidence that there is money coming in from the AI space. And internally, right, outside of external evidence, internally, AMD itself has seen dramatic performance and productivity gains from using AI internally. So, in the long term, in the most recent events from AMD, they mentioned that one, total addressable market is still growing dramatically. They are no any they don't believe we're in any AI bubble right now. And the ASIC market, while it will be strong, GPUs will continue to lead in this space. Now, I want to end this episode with just a quick look at forward PE ratios. I do like looking at this for a lot of my stocks and then comparing it to the median. Right now, forward PE, so the next 12 months, is 30.23. The median is around 34.39. Today, at these prices, I still believe AMD is still more of like a low to medium dollar cost average, is not low the truck just yet, but that's because AMD is already a big position in my overall portfolio. Regardless, I do like the dollar cost averaging, and I am going to be doing that in the upcoming week as long as we stay in these prices. So this is one that I will be buying for sure. Again, it's more of a dollar cost average opportunity and not anything more than that. It's not where I would load the truck just yet. I believe the market will continue to be very, very volatile. So there could be better opportunities in the future. Regardless, I'm never trying to time it. So for now, that dollar cost average works for me. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope you understand now what's happening in the AMD space. Make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. Take care. Have a good day and see you all next time.